So in a busy week for news, we had not only earnings from JD Sports, but are they potentially going to be involved in buying someone else in the UK? We had earnings from Crocs, we had earnings from Anta Sports in China. Nike have been keeping their lawyers nice and busy. Reebok have dropped a brand new silhouette, timely seeing as Adidas are trying to find a buyer for that division. And in the retail side of things, we had an IPO in the US whose shares rose 140% on the first day. So let's have a bit of a deeper dive at the week we've just been through. So we start off with JD Sports at the beginning of the week. They gave us a Christmas trading statement where revenues beat, helped by the online side of the business, which has been picking up a lot of the slack that we've seen as bricks and mortar stores have been closed due to COVID. They talked about better margins. These margins have been helped because there's been less promotional activity, i.e. less discounting. They've been a lot better, and companies generally are being a lot better about how much inventory they have left in that channel, if you like, or in the pipeline. If there's less stock you need to clear, then there's less amount of discounts. So it's definitely going to be a theme for 2021, is that I think there's going to be less deals around. Now, we heard recently that the Competition and Markets Authority had tried to block JD Sports' purchase of Foot Asylum, and a judge then turned round and said no and sort of ruled against that decision. So it looks like they're going to be able to keep it. But obviously that means that they have quite a big presence already in the UK. So when news broke again this past week that JD Sports were potentially going to be involved in a Topshop takeover, it got some people sort of scratching their heads. Well, actually what this story says is that Authentic Brands, who own Barney's in the US amongst others, would purchase Topshop, and JD Sports would actually run their operations in the UK, so they wouldn't actually own it. So that would be a way of them getting around the sort of the competition side of things. They would just be running and presumably paid for running those operations. Now, it's not given that Authentic Brands are going to be able to get this business. Next are interested in it, and Boohoo as well. And Topshop, out of all the Arcadia assets that are potentially up for sale, Topshop really is the one that a lot of the sort of the fashion retailers, etc., are interested in. I know that JD Sports have had some problems with regards to coping with the sheer amount of online orders. I know lots of businesses have, purely because no one was anticipating the COVID situation that we saw last year. So it's interesting that they want to maybe bite off more by running operations for another business that's not connected, but we'll have to wait and see. And we should hear more in the coming days. We had Crocs come out on Monday as well. Their shares are up 12% on the week. I did a previous video on this, but positive earnings, working from home. You know, Crocs, a pretty hideous piece of footwear, but it's comfortable. You can have them on your feet for a long period of time. They have medical demand as well, because people do use them in hospitals, etc., who are on their feet. It's a comfortable shoe, and sandals, etc., have been very, very popular through 2020, as we've seen with UGG as well as Birkenstock as well. Anta Sports in China. Many of you may not have heard of this company. They are a $45 billion US dollar market cap, and you'll know them better as the owners of Fila. Now, about 48% of Anta's business comes or is derived from Fila. The rest of that, the majority of the rest of that, is coming from Anta Sports, Anta's own brand stuff, but they own Willson, Arc'teryx, as well as a few other bits and pieces. So I'm going to concentrate on Fila because that's kind of what a lot of us know. They had Q4 growth of 25 to 30% versus Q4 in 2019. This is just Fila brand itself. And for the full year, 2020 versus 2019, they saw mid-double digit growth, which is about 50%. So very, very strong there. We did see one of the brokers, a Japanese broker called Nomura, were quite positive on Anta Sports as a whole, saying that they thought their margins were going to show some improvement this year. Again, this is due to those inventory levels falling, so people being able to have less stock to clear, again helping their margins. They also talked about cost efficiencies. I was going through some of the previous reports that Fila and Anta have brought out, and actually Anta self-producing more and more of their own footwear. Obviously a lot of footwear comes from Asia anyway, is manufactured for all the big brands, but just under 30% of Anta's footwear is produced by themselves. So they're really working on cost efficiencies there. Just on that margin story, when I talked about a broker liking positive the positive margin outlook, for Foot Locker this week, we saw a US broker upgraded their numbers, actually recommended people to go and buy the shares. That is for two reasons. One, they're talking about these lean inventories helping the margins again, but also with the fresh stimulus plan in the US. Now Biden is taking over from President Trump. They are thinking that stimulus checks are going to be going from $600, as we've already seen, up to the region of about $2,000. And as we've seen with furlough money and also stimulus checks previously in the US, a lot of people are using these and actually going out and buying athleisure and sneakers and all sorts. What else? So Adidas, they're still trying to sell Reebok. We will get some detail of that on the 10th of March when they come out with their restructuring plan. I thought it was interesting that Reebok have launched a new shoe, sort of dangling it in the shop window. It's called the Nano X1. They describe it as a fitness shoe. It's for people that do high intensity training as well as boot camp and boxing, etc., etc. So it really is a real multi-purpose shoe. Like I say, it's an important time as Adidas try and find a buyer for Reebok, and this shoe, it looks quite nice, a multi-purpose shoe. If it becomes a bit mainstream, it may well help tip the scales for someone that's looking to buy them. Nike, fresh from their battle with Warren Lotus that they settled last month with his sort of authentic take on their dunk. They have this week announced they're suing 589 websites, there's 676 social media platforms, and another 100 unidentified businesses and individuals. What's this for? It's for more counterfeit stuff for Nikes and Converse. They're talking about them being described as unauthorized authentic products, or replicas, or fakes, as Nike are calling them. What they want to do is dish out fines here, and they want to fine people triple the amount of profit that they have made on the shoe sales, up to $2 million. So it's basically triple the profits as a fine, or a $2 million fine, whichever comes first. Speaking of sort of collaborations, etc., or people taking off Nike shoes, obviously we've heard this week from Virgil Abloh and the Pending 7. That's one collaboration that we can look forward to. Obviously lots of chitter chatter around the Canary Off-White Air Jordan 1 finally coming to the marketplace. A couple of Dunks, a couple of Air Force 1s, and a couple of Flare 2s as well, which seem to be like a tennis shoe as well. Outside of that, last but by no means least, on the retail side of things, it's an online sort of sales platform, if you like. It's called Poshmark. They floated in the US, so they launched on the stock market there, selling new and used clothing, so fashion, homewares, etc. The shares rose 140% on day one. They have 70 million users, and they say there is one sale per second in the US. That's pretty much it for me. It's been a busy week. If you've got any questions, please do let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to Full Frame Kicks. Also make sure you are following the Sneakonomist as well, and check us out for some more content. Thanks.